Belal Muhammad is going for his first title defense against Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Kazakhstani hitman, the man who finished every single one of his fights. 18 fights, 18 finishes, doesn't matter knockout, submission, he got it. The absolute monster who's running through the entire division. But is Shavkat that dangerous? What if he doesn't run through Belal? What if we lose a chance of seeing one of the most exciting of fighters being the champion of the welterweight division, and we hear and still and Belal Muhammad stays the champion? Let's talk about it. Let's analyze both of these fighters. Let's start with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat is an orthodox fighter who is great at both the striking department and the grappling department. He's not just good at this, he's great at this. He is so great that he always finds a way to finish his opponents either via a TKO or a submission. It's important to understand there's a difference between being great at striking and grappling versus having the ability to finish your opponents in both of these departments. I mean, out of the 18 professional fights, he ended 8 of them with TKOs and then the other 10 with submissions. And I mean, that number should itself be enough to understand how much of a dangerous man this guy is. But when you take a second to analyze what went into those fights and who he actually beat, well, things get a bit interesting. To put it plainly, Shavkat has not actually faced great competition for a long time. The only credible opponents he fought was the last 3 fights of his. Also, by the way, he only has 6 fights out of those 18 in the UFC. The rest were in different promotions. And those 3 good opponents were Jeff Neal, Neil Magny and Stephen Thompson. Now, he indeed finished all of these 3, but the Jeff Neal fight was a complete war. It was a really competitive fight and Shavkat was having some trouble in certain moments in that fight. Now, it is also true that Jeff Neal was the last man to beat Belal Muhammad, but the Belal Muhammad that fought Jeff Neal is a completely different version of Belal Muhammad that we know today. Still, all of these 3 wins are good victories against good quality competition, but outside of these 3, it's not that good. The fight before these 3 was Carlson Harris, who is a mediocre fighter who went on to go 2-1 after Shavkat fight, and the fights before that was Michael Pereira and Alex Oliveira, and both of them are no longer even in the UFC. Shavkat has a problem with quality competition department, and even when you do a surface level analysis, you know that Shavkat needs really good takedown defense to win against Belal Muhammad, and we really haven't seen Shavkat's takedown defense ability because almost none of the opponents he fought for the last couple of years really tried taking him down. Shavkat is the better man in the grappling department, so why would they risk trying to get submitted? But we have seen his takedown defense get tested before the UFC, and he has been taken down quite a number of times. A lot of regional fighters have had success taking Shavkat down. Now, it's important to note that Shavkat improved a lot over the last couple of years, and he might even have excellent takedown defense. It's just that we don't really know about it. It has not been thoroughly tested, and unless I can actually go to Shavkat's training camp and see him getting good takedown defenses over credible opponents, I can't guarantee you that his takedown defense is great. Now let's talk about some numbers. Shavkat is the longer and the taller fighter compared to Belal Muhammad. Shavkat has a 2-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. This makes it much easier for him to maintain distance and have more success throughout the entire striking game and also in the clinch. And unlike Belal, whose main striking revolves around boxing, Shavkat has a versatile arsenal full of boxing fundamentals to knees, elbows and good kicks. And that is Shavkat. Now let's talk about, remember the name, Belal Muhammad. Belal is also an orthodox fighter, so we are not experiencing a clash of stances in this fight. And Belal's main tool is his wrestling and his insane cardio. And Belal has also improved his striking with special emphasis on boxing over the last couple of years. But I don't think it's on par with Shavkat's striking. But unlike Shavkat, Belal is extremely experienced. Belal is undefeated for 6 years, more than half a decade. And he's also on a 6-fight winning streak, which was only reset by the no contest against Leon Edwards. And if you remove that, considering it's a no contest and not a loss, Belal is on a 10-fight winning streak. But it is not the number that's insane. The insane part is who he has those victories over. I mean, guys, Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, Stephen Thompson, and Damian Maia. And even before all of that, he also has a victory against Diogo Lima. Now, a Diogo Lima victory is not insane, but at this time of their careers, Belal was still up and coming and Diogo was on a 3-fight winning streak. So, considering where both of these guys were at their careers, it's still an impressive win for Belal at that time. Also, Belal got a solid chin. It's not uncrackable, we have seen it get cracked before, but it's still a solid chin. And as I mentioned earlier, he also arguably got the best cardio in the welterweight division right now. And I'm pretty sure even the people who would argue with me would still give insane credit to Belal for the fact that, out-wrestling your opponent takes a lot of cardio. Now imagine you doing that for 25 minutes straight. Belal got another trick up his sleeve, and that trick he has the help from Khabib's gym. Khabib's team helped him out against the Leon Edwards fight and especially the Sean Brady fight. Sean Brady fight was where the initial connection started to begin, and from there onwards, Khabib's team have helped Belal Muhammad. And you know what Khabib's team do? Well, what they do is they analyze their opponent and try to find the easiest and the most solid path to victory, and then revolve their training camp around that path to victory. And then during the fight, they just execute that game plan, which always ends up being, most of the time, ends up being the victorious plan. So why don't we do exactly that? Now, let's look at the path to victory for both of these fighters, starting off with Belal Muhammad. Belal's plan should be really simple. Shavkat's takedown defense has not been tested, and I'm pretty confident that Belal can exploit it. And especially, the more the fight goes on, Belal will be the more better fighter. He has the better experience and he also has the better cardio. So his game plan should be stupid, simple, just wrestle. Just take him down over and over again, and always make sure when you are in the bottom to get the top position, because Shavkat is really dangerous on the ground only when he has the top position. Always dictate the movement while on the ground. Just go for that takedown and keep the pressure on. Whenever Shavkat has his back to the cage and is closer to the cage, shoot that takedown. And the second point, do not overestimate yourself in the striking department. Sure, you have hands like Canelo, right? But your coach said Shavkat got really solid power and he has the ability to knock you out, unlike Leon Edwards, who is basically doing a light sparring match for 25 minutes. Like, that's what Leon Edwards' whole thing is, right? Well, that's not Shavkat. So be careful in the striking department. And even in the clinch, you have to be careful. Do not take unnecessary risks when you're on the clinch, because Shavkat can land his elbows and his knees. And always keep the pressure on Shavkat and have that takedown threat flashing in front of his eyes 25 minutes. Put the pressure on and dictate the pace. And that's Belal's. What about the Kazakhstanis? Well, Shavkat's plan should be the opposite of that. Just don't get taken down, and especially pay close attention to the distance between you and the cage. Because what Belal's and the whole Khabib's team's thing is to shoot the takedown when you're close to the cage, because it's much easier to put the pressure on the cage and then take you down. So in the best case scenario, Shavkat should always be at the center of the cage and he should be the one pushing Belal to the cage and not the other way around. And Shavkat should always use his reach, which is a 5-inch advantage, and use that reach advantage to maintain the distance. Don't let him walk you down, stay in the pocket, use your versatile crisp striking and your head kick, which you can land on Belal Muhammad, considering he's not that short and not that tall, kind of like the perfect height for you. So use those versatile striking and do not over hesitate on throwing strikes just because the takedown threat is there. That's what happened to Leon Edwards, right? Because Leon was not throwing a lot of strikes. He was afraid of Belal's takedown. You should not be doing that. You should be careful of Belal's takedown threat, but you should not over hesitate on your striking. And even in the clinch, do not hesitate. Throw those elbows, throw those knees to the body. Fun fact, by the way, Shavkat trains at Killcliff FC. It's actually a really solid gym in Florida, actually one of the best out there. And Vicente Luque trains at Killcliff FC. And Vicente has fought Belal twice and lost one time and actually beat Belal one time. So not only can Shavkat do the obvious when it comes to the fighting plan, he also can train with Vicente and then get to know Belal more via Vicente Luque. Whatever it is, Shavkat should never back down during the entire fight. He has to be the man going forward. He cannot let Belal Muhammad take the pace, and under no circumstance can he ever just back down. Because the moment he does that, Belal's gonna take you down and it's going to be tiresome. Because from there onwards, every single round, you're on the ground, you're trying to get up, and it's going to be annoying. It's going to hurt your spirit, and it cannot be happening. You should have the killer instinct, and even on the ground, if you manage to take him down, just do it. Go for that finish and just end the thing. End the fight, end Belal Muhammad. Understand the worst case scenario, it's Belal taking top control for 25 minutes and it's not him finishing you or outstriking you and knocking you out. Like, that's not what's going to happen. So be confident with yourself and your ability to outstrike him and throw that knee or the head kick once in a while, and it might land. And it might land real good. And those are the paths to victory. But what about my own prediction? Well, my brain says, my mind says go with Belal. But sometimes it's not about what the mind says. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the analysis. It's not about critical thinking. Sometimes it's just about the vibes. Sometimes it's about who does your gut says that's going to win. Who do you believe in more? Who do you think is going to bite down on that mouthpiece and just throw? Just keep walking forward and absolutely have that killer instinct. And I think that man is Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov will win this fight via a stoppage. Most likely it's going to be a TKO. Might lead to that TKO via a knee or might even be a head kick, but it's going to be a TKO. Shavkat got that aura around him that you don't see around a lot of other fighters. The guy is super zen, cool, focused all the time, but that calm and focus is directed towards finishing his opponent, and he does not back down at all. He has one of the most insane records of finishing every single one of his professional fights. Also, he has a really solid path to victory with the striking and the takedown defense, so it's not like an underdog having an unbelievable victory. I mean, Shavkat is the favorite, so he's not even the underdog in this case. I'm kind of picking the obvious, I get it, but if you properly analyze the fight, you get what I'm trying to say, which is this fight is much closer than people are thinking, and Belal has a really solid path to victory, and he's super good and he's super dangerous. Even though my pick is Shavkat Rakhmonov, do not be surprised if you hear "and still" this December. But whatever it is, and still and new, it does not matter yet because it's in December, and before that November we have the John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and before that this October we have Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. UFC 308. That's an excellent fight. Forget about the fight, the whole card is awesome. Really looking forward to it. I mean, forgetting about Belal versus Shavkat, 310, the entire pay-per-view card is really solid. We got Gain versus Volkov 2, and then Kai Asakura versus Alexander Pantoja, guy coming from Rizin and then getting a title shot. Vicente Luque versus Nick Diaz. Now, I'm not really looking forward to that. Nick Diaz is pretty old and he was completely out of shape for his Robbie Lawler fight, even though he's actually in pretty shape looking at the stuff he's posting on his social media, so maybe he might be a lot better than his Robbie Lawler performance. Whatever it is, we also got Moza Riloi versus Aljamain Sterling and Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. The entire event is good. I'm really looking forward to it. If Shavkat Rakhmonov wins, I'll be a happy man, but I would not be surprised if Belal Muhammad ends up getting another unanimous decision. Anyhow, that is the breakdown, and if you enjoy this video, please consider liking the video because then YouTube pushes this video for more people and it helps me out a lot, and I consistently upload every single week, so consider subscribing. Anyways, check this video out. Francis Ngannou is fighting Renan Ferreira this weekend. Like, yeah, literally in a couple of days, but the promotion for this fight is awful and PFL is apparently financially struggling. I also got a couple of strong words for PFL co-founder Don Davis. So check the video out, it's a fun watch, and I will see you in a couple of days. Signing out, my name is Don Kusal.